Hello and welcome to another tutorial. This is the last tutorial on databases with LibreOffice Base. This one's going to be on reports. This is going to be pretty quick because there's not really that much to talk about, but I am going to show you one thing before we get to the reports because I think it's cool and it's done in a different way in Base than it was in Microsoft Access. So when I'm rewriting and re-recording these tutorials, I didn't end up doing it because it should have been in the forms tutorial and not in the queries. I usually did it in the queries tutorial because you needed a query to do it, but in this one you don't. So I didn't include it in the last one, and I'm just going to include it right at the beginning here because I think it's neat to do. So we're going to go here. The text of this tutorial is very simple, and we will get back to this in a second. No, let's go. Okay, so in this tutorial, the final part of a database is building a document for printing. So you take the data, you cross-section it, you query it, you search it, you sort it, you do all that stuff, and then you collate it and format it for printing to make it look readable. So a report is the result of taking a query or a table or even a form and formatting it so that it looks nice, so that it looks good and it looks like it's ready for printing. So once again, we'll open up our sample database, our working database for this tutorial. And the first thing I want to show you is a new special kind of form, a super form, if you will. And so we're going to create a new form with the wizard. So this is before we do any reports. I'm going to do this one because this one should have been in the third tutorial, but I didn't know about how this was done in Base before, because in Access you actually need to create a query first, and since the query table is after the forms tutorial. Anyway, let's do this. Use the wizard to create a form. And it's coming up on the other screen here. You won't be able to see it. I can't bring it over. Okay, so this is what I want to do. What I want to do is create a form with a subform. So a form that just has the artists' names and a subform that lists all their albums. So I go here and I am just going to build it off of the artist table. So this seems at first kind of like the artist form, but I'm just going to add the name. I'm not going to add the ID. And then this time I do want to add a subform. And I want it to be based on an existing relation. So this is the part that's done differently than it is in Access. So I didn't actually know how to do this until I started writing this tutorial and was like, oh, writing the last tutorial. And I was like, oh, that's how it's done here. Okay, never mind. I'll just add it at the beginning of the next tutorial. So here it is. So this is going to be based on this existing relation, and then it'll bring up that relation. It's like, oh, well, what do you need from that table? Well, how about we just take album name and release year, boom and boom. Yeah, we'll take both of those two things. And then hit next. Oh, you can't see it on this because it's on the other screen, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the arrangement on the main form. For the main form, we're just going to have the let's do a line right because I like it better. Columnar, and then the other one we'll have as a data sheet. So the subform will be a data sheet, and the main form will be columnar. So this is the artist table, this is the albums table, sort of like, and one will be kind of like, one of those forms is kind of be inside the other. You're going to see what this is going to look like. Leave this the same. Pick a color that isn't terrible, although all the colors are terrible. And we're going to call this artist album list form, or something like that anyway. And we'll hit finish, and I'm going to oh, here it is. So look at what we have. This is cool because it lists each album by the artist underneath their name. So if I go to this next one, it pops up with all of the ones that are listed as by various artists. Here's Tupac, All Eyes on Me. If I go down to, say, Weather Report has 2 albums. I think those are my brother. Actually, I think one of those is mine. Yeah, so let's see, Beethoven. There it is. So yeah, we've got 5th and 8th Symphony, Eroica, 9th Symphony, Symphonies 2 and 3, and 6th Symphony. So I have all of these recordings from these years on vinyl, and they're listed underneath the artist's name, this is neat. This is a really cool way of being able to look through all of your albums by artist name. Excuse me. And you can use this little magnifying glass here to find a particular record that you want to use. So anyway, this is one thing I wanted to show you was this way of building a subform inside of a regular form. And I think we already saved it, so we can close this one out. And let's turn our attention to reports. I want to build a couple of reports. Let's use a let's Alt-P. So when I do this, again with reports as with forms, since there's a lot of formatting and like you have to get things arranged on there correctly, I like to use the wizard so that it's largely automated. Maybe that takes away some of the flexibility that I might have, but I think it's more, I think it's better for me personally. So let's start with something simple. Let's do the album count report. Let's take the album count query, and these are the available fields in that query itself. We'll use them both. We'll take them both. So the one is called artist name. The other one's called count albums.album ID. We should have renamed that in the other in this query, but it's not a big deal. Hit next. Here's where it's not a big deal, is we can simply change the display name to artist name with a space. That looks a lot better. And then we can change this to something like number of albums. And then it's going to look a lot nicer. So we'll hit next. I guess we're going to group by artist name, sure. And we're going to sort by artist name, ascending, right? And then choose a layout. We'll do, let's see, that looks kind of okay. It's kind of the tabular. What does the columnar look like? I guess any one of these will be just fine. I'm gonna do this one, single column, and then hit next. And then, yep, this will be a title report, album count, and then create report now and finish. And let's see what it looks like. So here's what it does. This is kind of cool. It opens it in the word processor. I think we saw this in one of the earlier videos, but I think it's kind of neat because, you know, Tupac, 1, number of albums, 1. It's a nicely formatted document. Maybe it's a little bit repetitive because it has this text over and over again, so we might want to tweak that a little bit. But for the most part, this looks pretty cool. Like, if you printed this off, it would show you. Maybe you should have done like 2 columns. It would have fit better. But you can get like a count of each one of these things. Now, maybe this would be a report that you wouldn't necessarily need, but it's here nonetheless. So you could save this, you could print it, you could export it as a PDF, publish it to the web. Excuse me. So we'll close that one, and it's saved here. So anytime I want to rerun it, I can just, if something changes in the database, I can double click here and it'll rerun the report. So what's our next table? So the next one I think we can do is something similar to the count, except let's be a little bit more specific. So let's use a wizard. And this time we're going to use as our query the artist query instead of the artist count. And we'll grab all the fields, artist name, album name, or release year, genre name, and then hit next. Let's make our labels look a little bit nicer so that they're not just single words. Let's put spaces in here because that's how people still read. They like to put spaces between words in sentences. So here's how we can do some fun stuff. Since these fields are from different tables, one thing that we might want to do is group by artist name, since there's always going to be some sort of grouping there. So we don't need to group by anything else, but we do want to group by this. So let's group by artist name. Next. And then inside of that, we can sort by, we can sort by artist name, and then maybe under here, maybe let's sort by release year, ascending, something like that. That'd be fine. That'd be fine. It'll look good. Choosing layout, let's see, what is it looking like? It's going to do, so it's going to have an artist name, and then it's going to have a list of all of their albums. So album name, release year, and genre name. So that looks like those are the labels are going to be. I like that. I like the tabular layout. And then, yeah, landscape. So you could do portrait, which might be fine. We'll do landscape, though. And then next, and we'll call it artist query report. And then it'll be a dynamic report, create report now, finish. And once again, it's going to open in a word processor. And then now we can scroll down on it, and it actually has all the information as artist name, as the name of the album, the release year, and the genre. So here's Beethoven with several albums, so that there you can actually see how it's formatting them. I think it looks great. I think this is exactly what you would want in a report like this, because it has all the information. Some of it might have gotten truncated here. Yeah, this looks like it got truncated a little bit, and maybe you can go through and tweak the report a little bit, but by and large it seems like it's reporting all the information correctly. So there it is. That's one report. That's two reports. And that's all we're going to do in this tutorial. What I want you to do for this tutorial is create one more report using tables and or queries of your choice. I highly recommend it be based on one of the queries from the previous tutorial, one of the queries that you made after the video part was over. And when you're finished with that, upload it to Canvas, and that will conclude our discussion of databases with LibreOffice. Good luck.